We're here representing the Shaw Media and Daily Herald editorial boards, interviewing candidates for McHenry County Board. Thank you all for coming today and joining us for this. We're going to start with questions now. Every candidate's going to get 2 minutes to answer each question. We're going to go through a set of 4 questions. It'll be the same question that every candidate gets, and we're doing one tomorrow with the other districts. They'll get the same questions. They won't be able to see this beforehand. We'll wait to post it until afterwards. And then at the end of the process, each of the newspapers will have separate endorsements for these races. Reporter Kelly Duncan is on as well. She will be writing a story. She's not part of the actual process in terms of writing the editorials. So for starters, we just want each candidate to introduce themselves and tell us about their platform. Again, you have 2 minutes, and we're going to start with Paula Yensen.
Thank you for the opportunity to be here with you during this endorsement process. My name is Paula Yensen, and I represent District 5. My commitment is representing the people in the 5th District. I've always been a fiscal conservative, and I have voted accordingly. Currently, I serve on the county board on the Planning and Environment Committee. I'm Vice Chair of Public Health and Community Services. I chair the Senior Services Grant Commission. During that time, I think I have really worked hard to represent my constituents in a way where my community involvement has been involved, and that community involvement is part of that conversation on the county board. In the past, I was vice chair of the Transportation Committee on the county board, and I chaired the Stormwater Commission. In that, I think that some of the problems that are looming as the COVID issue, the pandemic, as well as where the taxation is going to be coming in the future. So with that, I am very committed to represent the people in my 5th District because these issues resonate with them. Many people are facing eviction, foreclosure, they have lost their jobs, and they're living on the edge.
Thank you. Jim Kearns.
Hi, I'm Jim Kearns. I'm with District 6. I was elected on the last 2016 election. And as county board, on the county board, or for District 6 in my representation, I think we have a pretty diverse, heavy agriculture in District 6. And I come from a farm background and a businessman. And we run that. On the county board, some of the things I think that we need to be focusing on is the continued lowering of the taxes or holding them steady, whatever we can through this COVID problem. And I think that's to be addressed here in the next 3 months. We have to address that. We have to address what services we continue, what services we delete or diminish. That's a big problem that we're going to face here. But right now, we don't know where we're even at right now with fundamentally financial revenue loss. We're getting a better idea, and you'll see that here in the next few weeks, I hope. As for my leadership on the board, I have currently serve as the transportation chairman. I also serve as the chairman of the Stormwater Commission, of which we just completed, and it will go to the board's vote here next month for the text amendments that we have done to the stormwater. That's been 4 years coming. and we finally got it ready to pass that ordinance here this month. One of the big things that's concerning my district and all over the county is flooding. And I've been a big advocate of reactivating drainage districts to help with these flooding issues. Also representative of the UDO, I'm on also the Planning and Environmental Committee. The UDO for the county, we need to make it easier for our businesses and to do business in this county. Sometimes it's very tough, and I see it getting better, but it's sometimes very difficult for people to do business, getting permits and doing different things and enforcement. So I certainly appreciate being here today with everyone, and thank you very much.
Thanks, Mike Skala.
Hi, I'm Mike Skala, District 5 County Board. I will also want to appreciate both newspapers for going ahead and doing this. It's important for the public to be able to get to know us better and get to understand who we are as people. I'm a lifelong McHenry County resident. I've been married for 25 years, have 2 daughters that I'm very proud of. One's still in college and one's being a productive citizen in the world. I've been on the board, I'm just finishing up my 8th year, and I feel like those 8 years have gone by so quickly. Everything seems to be changing in the county, and we are always trying to improve and make a difference, and I feel like I've been a strong advocate for that. Currently, I serve as the vice chair of the county board, which was, I was elected to that by the other 23 members. I am chair of the Finance and Audit Committee, and I also serve on the Transportation Committee. I am also been the liaison for the MCEDC, which is the McHenry County Economic Development Corporation. It's the arm of the county that looks at economic development for the county. I think one of the things that I feel is most important with this election, the people that are elected in this term will help choose the size and makeup of the next county board. And I've been a big advocate of reducing the size of our county board from the current 24 members to something much less. I feel that we can do a good job with much less members, which will not only save taxpayer dollars, but I feel like we'll be more efficient. The other thing I feel is vitally important is COVID-19. The county was somewhat caught off balance with that, in the sense that we didn't realize it was going to be occurring, and we need to do a better job at planning for it in the future, which takes into account all stakeholders, not only just county, but also the public services that were implementing all the things that we needed. So we need to be more prepared for something like this to occur in the future. Thank you.
Thanks, Nancy.
Nancy Glissman, running for the McHenry County Board in District 6. I live in Sun City, Huntley, and I have a bachelor's degree in social work at the University of Illinois at Chicago and experience working with special needs adults. I also have customer service experience, which I think is going to be very applicable to working on the county board. And in customer service, we're trained to treat our customers well, to listen to our customers. And we were also trained that the other people that we worked with are our internal customers. And as somebody that's observed the county board meetings, many of the meetings since last fall when I decided to run, I could see where we need somebody like me, and where we need more of an attitude of treating each other as internal and external customers, respecting all of our constituents, whether they're, a Democrat or a Republican, listening to their needs. I think that's very important. Also on the county board, I see professionalism on the county board, but I'm also embarrassed of some of the meetings when there's arguing, when personalities come into play. I don't think it represents county well to see that. And also a few of the members are constantly pushing an ideology, it appears, in the county board meetings. And I don't think that that's helpful, because we all want what's best for McHenry County. That's what we have to focus on. I am grateful that the board has worked to keep taxes down in the past few years, because I think that makes us in a much better position going forward because of COVID. So and I'm grateful for you guys having this forum. So I think I bring a lot of skills to the board, and I'll be an asset. Thank you.
Thank you. Larry Spaeth.
Hi, this is Larry. I'm a recently retired postal worker. I live over in Harvard, right on Route 23 in District 6. I am the candidate from District 6 for the Democratic Party. And I have had years of experience with the Lions of Illinois organization. I've been on the district and state levels in leadership positions, and also with the state foundation. And their structure is very similar to the county boards. You have to follow the Constitution with bylaws and Robert's rules, and the committee structure quite similar. So I've had experience working with volunteers, trying to get them motivated to come to solutions on problems that are presented. I also have been not all that impressed with the proactive type of leadership on the county board. So I advocate more of a proactive approach than a reactive approach to the situations that come up. I have been an advocate for lower taxes, but I don't think we're putting enough emphasis on the total property tax bill that's impacting the citizens of McHenry County. One of the issues out in District 6 is there is a very wide gap in the broadband internet. It is very difficult to get decent service and connection out there. We need a fiber optic network that is a doable project that the county could be take a leadership role in. You can form a community-owned cooperative, which is nonprofit, open access, so you can open it up to competition. That would resolve the issue out in District 6. And that would help not only farmers, it would help the students that are in the District 6 area that have a problem with connection to the internet. The size of the board, I've been an advocate for a reduction of the size of the board. It would save us money. I think the board needs to reduce its own salary by 10% in order to provide the leadership at the county level of reducing our expenses, especially now with the pandemic. We don't know what our income is going to be from the tax revenues. So.
All right, and Tanya?
Hi, I'm Tanya Jindrich. Thank you for having me. I am in Crystal Lake. I graduated in Crystal Lake as well, graduated high school in Crystal Lake. I have 4 children, 3 in elementary school and 1 in middle school. What I bring to District 3 as a county board candidate is my unique perspective, more as a citizen, not as a career politician, listening to people in my district, listening to people in my community, advocating for those people. I'm a proponent for CASA, a volunteer there. I also am a volunteer with MDA, which is Mothers Demand Action, that have to do with gun safety and education in our community. Some of the challenges that I see in our future will be around financial, obviously. I have my MBA in finance. I worked with 2 of the largest banking organizations in the country. After leaving that role, I created a small business. So I very much have the perspective of a small business owner and understand that our future is really relying on what the next 6 months will bring. That being said, not other than taxes, we want to make sure that we're talking about what our delinquency could be in the future, and therefore how that will impact mostly our education. So if we can't collect those taxes, what is that going to look like for our future in education? And as all that really what Nancy said is talking about a board collaboration and transparency with open communication that has more compromise that is best for our community as opposed to a political running. Thank you.
Hi, everyone. So our next question will be about the COVID-19 pandemic. What have we learned as a country from the COVID-19 pandemic, and what changes should be made looking forward as a result? And Jim, we'll start with you.
Okay, as a country or as a county? I have to clarify that.
Sorry, county.
As a county, okay. As a county, I think Mr. Skala brought a little bit up. We were caught off guard. And there's been a lot of things that have happened here in the county. Our businesses have been absolutely devastated by this. We've not had a high infection rate in this county. And I think one of the processes for the future that we should install is be more proactive in opening those businesses back up in a safe manner. It has not worked quick enough. We haven't reacted quick enough on some of those things. And again, I say in a safe manner. It's been used as a very political activity throughout the country and the state with COVID-19. It's been a political football. We got to take the politics out of there and just do what's best for our people, for our schools, for our children. People locked down. We need to have programs in place for the people who are affected by this personally, mentally, the mental health issues. There's been a lot more people die of those issues than there have actually died of the COVID in our county. I think also the tracking of the actual deaths of COVID, I think of if there's underlying issues besides just the disease, need to be tracked and publicized a little bit better there also. So I think the politics have possibly affected those reporting numbers. The other thing that we've learned here is the communities and our municipalities and our school districts and the county, we have a big issue financially. We have been pushing to lower taxes, lower taxes, lower taxes. And I think the big issue now is where's our rainy day funds that we have for a pandemic? We don't have any room. We're going to have to probably cut some services to those people that need it the most. And that's an issue. One of my thoughts is that we should stop any unnecessary expenditures right now, presently, immediately. We should stop those. And it may be terminating some employees if that's the case. And nobody wants to hear that. Nobody wants to hear, we have to make tough decisions here. And I think people who know me, I call a spade a spade. And if we have to cut some services, we have to cut them if we cut revenue. If we're going to cut revenue, or we have revenue cuts, which we are going to have, then we need to make the hard decisions. We can't just keep spending blindly. And I am not a supporter of that. I always have been fiscally conservative. But that's one thing that I think we've learned from this, is that we have to watch our spending. And at the same time, we have to watch our output. There's a lot of things going on in our society that are affecting this. And I think we just need to fix it and be more prepared next time and watch our spending.
Okay, thank you, Jim. Same question to you, Mike.
Mike Skala, District 5. Like I said already, I think the thing that was most critical was the unpreparedness that we were as a county. I feel that the municipalities were, our health department. You know, we knew this was happening overseas. Didn't think it was going to come here, weren't prepared for it. Even things as simple as PPP, you know, we were scrambling to try and find that. You know, the county is in a unique position that we can be a conduit not only for the citizens, but also for the other municipalities and for the other taxing bodies that we help and collaborate with and serve. And so we have a larger buying power, and the things that we need in order to deal with this, we weren't prepared for. And you know, could we have been prepared? Should we have been prepared? I think that's a discussion. You know, did any of us in America see this happening? I think, you know, those that would have been a lot more successful. But, you know, we had a stockpile of PPP just for other concerns that may happen, whether it be a terrorist attack or whatever. But no one ever predicted or saw this happening. So I think one of the key things of what did we learn? We learned that we need to be more prepared. We need to think outside the box. We need to think what could possibly happen to us as a county, to the residents that we serve, and try and be more prepared. Even if we're not purchasing stuff, we need to have a plan in place in order to deal with it. Our staff was phenomenal. They worked their butts off to be as responsive and as caring as they could be to the citizens. But again, every day was something different. Every day was a new wrinkle that they had to deal with. And with that, you know, we learned as we went along. But, you know, like I said, we need to, at some point in the future, when things calm down a little bit, we need to bring everyone back together again and say, hey, how do we plan? Put a document together to know how to deal with this going forward. In addition to that, what can we do better? We know that there's things that we could have done better, and we need to take a look at that and learn from it.
Okay, thank you. Nancy?
I think given what we had, the tone that started at the top nationally, I think we did okay in McHenry County. I think our county board got information out to people, but it has been a very difficult and tough situation. Now in hindsight, we could see that, you know, all the deaths at Friendship Village, including residents and staff, I mean, that's very unfortunate, and in nursing homes. And there was tough situation. I do think once McHenry County knew, I do think we took it seriously. I think going forward, what would be best right now is to start a task force that finds the people in need. That would be the businesses in need. You know, who are they? Who are the ones that are hurting? Who are, you know, how can we help? Put our heads together. How can we help? It would be the same with people that have needs that are social service type needs, as well as the very tough situation of people that are in grave financial need because of, you know, one or both people have lost their job, they have children. We need to really be at an assessing point right now, assess the need in the community, both the businesses, individual families, and then social service needs, and get that task force going and get on this. And I think given what we had, I don't think we did a terrible job, given the tone at the top nationally. I think we did not a bad job. Thank you.
Larry, same question to you, please. Larry, you might be on mute. Okay, we will move to Tanya. Go ahead, Tanya.
Ms. Bull, do you mind repeating the question just so I have it in totality?
Not at all. What have we learned as a county from the COVID-19 pandemic, and what changes should be made looking forward as a result?
Okay, thank you.
Welcome.
We have a saying in our house, which is, hope for the best and prepare for the worst. And I think in this case, we definitely recognized that this is something we can learn from, not only from a pandemic perspective, but flooding, natural disasters, other things in our community that could impact us, a social discourse. That's another, I don't necessarily know that we were completely prepared for, protesting that happened after COVID and during. I think these are things that we have to look at and acknowledge that there are things that we can do to prepare for those. So in totality, there's got to be more to it to be prepared. As far as like financially, some of the things that we need to change currently we only have in the county approximately 5 months of reserves. So looking forward, we would have to say, if we do need a rainy day per se, that we need to figure out if we can get somehow closer to that, 12-month reserve in case something does happen where we do have to prepare for another community disaster. Thank you.
Okay, Larry, are you there? Okay, we'll move on to Paula.
Here, can you hear me now?
Hello. Yes. Can you hear me?
We can, Larry. We're going to have Paula answer and then we'll come back to you.
Thank you.
Okay.
I think we found out how fragile and interconnected our local economy is through COVID. And we had shortages of test kits that were not available through the medical profession. And I think we need to reevaluate the model and have a conversation with the emergency management agency to debrief ourselves to figure out how we can work and be proactive and less reactive in the situation. I think we need to even create a strategic stockpile of supplies so that we have availability for those needed PPEs and test kits, etc. But I think it was the flexibility of our of us as a community and being interconnected with one another, and that really surfaced when we saw that food pantries were needing more food. Food bank needed more food for the people to access nutrition. I serve as liaison to the Mental Health Board, and they surveyed agencies, and they have only 3 months in reserves. And during this time, it's very, very important that the social service infrastructure is in place to help people in accessing, whether it's food, social isolation, mental health services. Even at the Mental Health Board, we're reevaluating how services have been delivered and are being delivered. For example, telesocial work, tele-mental health. We're moving in that direction so that we can do things more electronically to access, for people to access those services. And then I'm on the board of the Age Guide, which is the old area agency on aging. And social isolation for seniors in this county is a big, big problem. So how do we provide an opportunity for seniors to access services, whether it's mental health services, whether it's food, or trying to get medical services in play. So I think the fragility of that system became more apparent, and we need to find strategies in the future so that we can address that more appropriately. But I want to say this. I think that COVID has really changed how we do our work and how we do our social services in the future. It's going to be here and now, but it will be in play in the future. Thank you.
Thank you, Paula. Larry, same question to you.
Yes, you can hear me.
We can.
Okay. Yeah, I'm in agreement with a number of the candidates on the board. I think we've done a fairly decent job in response to the COVID-19 situation. Most everyone was caught off guard. I think the county has responded in a very responsible way. There are shortcomings. We need to, as Nancy talked about, a task force, you call it a commission. We have to have an after action report and evaluate the response that we gave during this pandemic. Take a look at where we fell short, where we need to improve, and then utilize that report in order to come up with an action plan to follow in the future if we come across the same type of situation. One of the things that it's revealed out in District 6 is that it's very difficult for the students to have remote learning because there is no good broadband internet. And that constitutes a good portion of the county. And there truly isn't any reason why we haven't been moving forward on this. We have the basics already brought into the county up to the administration building, the college, and to the school district. But out in the outer areas in District 6, it is lacking. And there is an easy solution to that, and we could be moving forward. So that would be in place in the future. Not only would it be good for a situation like this, but it's good for education. It's good for industrial investment in the county. All of the companies that are relocating their industry are looking for fiber optic connection to be in the community when they come in. They don't want to have to install it. So that is one of the things that I think we need to take a look at. Thank you.
All right, the third question is, how should the board go about creating a budget each year? And what's the most effective way globally for the board and the chairman to work together? Mike Skala, we'll start with you.
This set up for me, is that why?
Right.
So the budget process that we currently use, when I became chair of the Finance and Audit Committee, I changed things around a little bit. I moved the budget up so that we started the process earlier. I made each of the departments have, in essence, a zero-based budget. We gave them sheets that were created in order to allow them an opportunity to justify their budget. And in turn, with that sheet, they could ask for supplementals and in turn, show areas that they felt that they could do savings on, whether that was through automation or simply not used supplies or people, whatever it is. But that process has really kind of revolutionized how we do things with our budget. And I think it's led to the ability to cut taxes for several years. Is it a process that could still use some refinement? Yes, I believe it is, but in the most part, it's really provided the opportunity for us to look at how we spend our tax dollars in each of the different departments and then in turn look at the services that we're offering for those tax dollars to try and maximize the services for the residents. Your second part of the question, how do we balance the budget process between the board itself, and I'm going to throw the staff in there, along with the chairman. To me, I already said this at one of our meetings. Ms. Duncan reported on it, but I view this as a three-legged stool, that all three legs are equally important, and that being the staff, the board, and then the chairman. When each of those three are working together to create a budget, then it's a good process, and we end up with a very balanced budget that we can meet the needs of the county residents. I feel that when one of those legs gets out of balance, whether they're taking advantage of their power or whether they're taking advantage of their knowledge, that's when we have problems, and that has come to light over the last couple of years. And I feel like through our budget policy that we just passed, we've kind of put that back in balance again. We have to work together. We can't, any one of the three entities cannot do it alone. We all have to work together. Part of the issue that we had with the at-large elected chairman, that is a new paradigm that the board had to embrace, and we had to kind of switch how we did things. But that position is just that. It's a position in the process. It's not the process itself. And so we need to work together in order to create a balanced budget. We've been able to do that. We will do that again this year. I know there's been some comment already about the fact that we are going to have a little bit of a hole in our budget this year. We're just working on rolling up everything, but we will find ways to make that a balanced budget, continue to have our 5 to 6 month reserve, and continue to offer all the services that we've offered in the past. Thank you.
Nancy,
Can you repeat the question one more time?
how should the process of creating a budget work for the county, and how should the board work with the chairman and staff?
Well, I appreciate you going first on that, Mike, because I think you can. I appreciate the work it sounds like that you've done on this, and I would agree with the working together. And I would also, so as somebody that's observed the chairman, there does seem to be an attitude of cutting expenses, which I think is actually a good thing. But as somebody whose parents were children during the Great Depression, I think sometimes it can go to extremes. And I suspect that sometimes that may be what happens, you know, or if somebody values a certain department, they want money spent there and not. So I would actually agree with Mike on this, that everybody listen, that they work together, and that really as a board, that we make clear that we want everybody in on the process and not too much power to one certain person or entity, so that the people's needs are served, so that we don't want to waste money, but we don't want to be so austere that important services are cut.
All right, Larry Spaeth.
Hi, can you hear me?
Yes.
All right. I do believe the process in itself is not an issue at this point. What that issue is being able to bring the board and the chair together in a cooperative way in order to develop a workable budget. The chairman should have the ability to bring his input into the process as well as the staff. I know right now there seems to be an issue between the board and the chairman as far as what type of involvement does the chairman have? I think he needs to have a critical input into the budget process. He is the chairman of the board, so it should be a cooperative effort. And I think Mr. Skala has done a decent job at getting this process into a more workable system that provides a budget for the county board. It has in the past seemed to come up late for consideration, and his moving it up the timetable has been an improvement in the development process. So I think we need to do more in that regard. I think we need a little more transparency with the information that is available in order to make critical judgments. So thank you.
Tanya.
Thank you. I think that when we're talking about the budget, instead of talking about whose responsibility it is on the board to have the most input, it's not about who has the most input on the board. It's about what our constituents want and listening to what our constituents need. At this point, we're talking about businesses that are 26.5% lower revenue activity since January. And we need to start talking about how that's going to impact the budget. But in the past 2 years, to the current board's credit, we've decreased and cut between 10 and 11% over 2 years without cutting services and programs. I think that's fantastic, but now I think we do have to talk about the 10% salary cut for all elected officials, which I believe I'm a proponent for. But I also think we need to talk about what we can do with those funds that we can get other services for the small business programs, services that we can help with restaurants right now. It's, I think restaurants are down 60%, or excuse me, 42%, I apologize. And consumer spending was down 60% as of March. The numbers have increased a little bit, but again, the budget has to do with what our constituents need. So in order to plan that budget, we have to hear more and we have to see the impact more, and then we can create the budget together as a whole. So let's take out the politics. It's not about the chair and it's not about who's on the board. It's about what the people need in our community and listening to how we can help with that. Thank you.
Thank you. Paula?
Thank you. I agree with Mike Skala about moving forward with the new policy. But my experience is that we've always worked collaboratively to find an end result that's in the best interest of the people in the county. And that being said, it is working with the staff, it's working with the chair, as well as my colleagues. I've attended extra meetings to other committees to listen in on what the crafting of that budget looks like. So by the time it gets to the floor, I have literacy about what's in that budget and supplementals. I think we've done a great job as far as cutting 10. I support the initiative of cutting 10% of our salaries, but at the last time it failed. We need to also look at county board members receiving healthcare benefits, which is over $300,000 a year. And I've been a proponent of cutting those healthcare benefits when no other part-time county board members received it. But I'm in agreement with Mike Skala that we have a policy in place, and now we can move forward with the comfort level of the county board chair, understanding his parameters and our parameters, and we can all work together as a team collaboratively with the end result of crafting a budget that is responsive to the citizenry of the county. We're going to have some major challenges ahead of us because of the decline of taxes and motor vehicle money for the roads and the bridges due to COVID. So I'm looking forward for the next 2 years and coming together and being proactive instead of reactive in this difficult time. Thank you.
Thanks. And Jim.
Again, everybody brought up a lot of good points, and Mr. Skala and the Finance Committee have done an outstanding job of presenting the budgets in the past and brought to the board, where the board knows what's going on with the budget. It goes to each standing committee that the budgets in the process that have been put in place. Go to each standing committee and we discuss like transportation. We discussed the transportation. I listened to the admin service committee this morning, and they discussed the budgets that are in their purview, and all the way down the line, each of the committees. And so the system in place has done a great job. And there are things that can be fixed. And like Mr. Skala said, though, it is like a 3-pillar, and the 3-pillar needs to have 3 willing individuals or groups in there. They all have to work together instead of clubbing each other. And right now there are 2 very willing ones in it. The budget policy was just adopted, was held up since May. The budget policy was just adopted by the majority of the board, taking action, holding a special meeting last week, and actually adopt this budget policy so we could move forward in a way. So and you talk about working, the last part of the question is working with the chairman and the staff. I think the board has always been very willing to work with all and have worked with everyone involved in this. But again, you have to have 3 willing parties to do this. So I hope the chairman will work with that in the future. Wednesday, if you listen to the end of that meeting, he said he would not. So I think there's still a problem there, but hopefully we're going to get through this budget with or without his consent. And that's something that I'm very plain the way I speak on stuff like that, and probably say things I shouldn't say, but that's my feeling, and I speak very truthfully about how I feel about things. So our budget each year, again, I'll defer back to Mr. Skala on that, what he has said. It's been very good the way it has been activated throughout the years. So I'll leave it at that. We all have to work together. We're in this together. We all have to help each other out here.
Okay, thank you. Question 4, should on-duty McHenry County Sheriff's deputies wear body cameras, and what is the responsibility of the county board in making that happen? Nancy, we'll start with you.
The sheriff's deputies should absolutely wear body cameras. There are many, many reasons. It would protect deputies as well as citizens. They would provide evidence. They would provide transparency. They would speak for themselves. I heard the sheriff speak when he finally did speak after George Floyd's death. He said that, our actions speak for ourselves. Well, body cameras are a way for actions to speak for themselves. And it's a way to, like I said, it could protect the deputies providing the evidence, but also give peace of mind to people, that are stopped in a traffic stop if they're Black or brown people in particular, it's going to help them feel safer in McHenry County. And that is really important. If anything, if we've learned anything by this new movement that's happening since George Floyd's death, is that we need to listen to the younger generations. The younger generations are part of McHenry County too. I'm 60 years old, okay? But 50 and younger, particularly, I'm very proud of our millennials. My daughter's a millennial. We have a 30-year-old, and they understand, in my opinion, in general, they understand something, is that we're all equal in the United States, and that's what we were founded on. And these are important principles. And body cameras are part of that transparency and treating people equally. And I really think the board should pressure the sheriff. He could start a task force going on this right now. He can look for grant money for this. This is the way, this technology is the way of the future. It is not anti-law enforcement. I care about deputies. There's been deputies killed in the line of duty. That's horrible. Just because people want racial justice does not mean that we are against law enforcement at all. That's a separate issue. This is about justice and equality and people being treated right as citizens. It is not anti-law enforcement. And I really would encourage the sheriff to listen. We have to listen to the millennials and younger if we want to grow in McHenry County. If we want to thrive, we have to listen. And this is an important issue right now in our time, and it's time to get going on it.
Barry?
Yes, I'm in agreement with Nancy. Absolutely, they should be wearing these cameras. That this is a form of transparency that is critical. On a day-to-day basis, it doesn't have a lot of impact, but on those incidents that occur, it clarifies what the actions were, who took the actions. It protects the police officer more actually than it protects the public, but it protects both. And it should definitely be a policy of our county to have the sheriff's deputies wearing these body cameras. It is a statement to the citizens of the county that they are being transparent in the enforcement of the law. And that is a critical stance to be taken at this juncture in our society. So whatever the county board needs to do to assist the sheriff in order to implement this policy, we should be engaged in doing that. So thank you.
Tanya?
Thank you. I also agree that all law enforcement should have the body cams while they're in active duty for a few reasons. One would be simple accountability. Everybody in a role that has to do with protecting or even just your position within an organization, people appreciate accountability and they want to be held accountable for their actions. I would also say from a legal perspective, I would ask that we verify how many dollars we have spent in any type of legal mitigation that's happened between law enforcement and a citizen that didn't have a body cam, and therefore we couldn't necessarily pinpoint the issue, and there was too much ambiguity around the situation. So I think that would take away that ambiguity. Additionally, it is studied that people do work harder and smarter when they are essentially watched, I would say in this case, being observed. I do believe that the sheriff should be also a proponent of this. It does protect everyone in the community, but it also protects the officers, and it protects our revenue in the county in order to make sure that we don't have an issue that we potentially could have. And especially in this time and age, we definitely want to be looking at the future to protect us. Thank you.
Paula?
I'm in agreement with, just a minute.
We can't hear you, Paula.
There you go. Can you hear me now?
Yes.
I'm so sorry. I'm in agreement with everything that everyone said. I think there is checks and balances of how people do their work. And I'm in total support of the body cams. It protects law enforcement as well as the individuals in our community. I think we've had conversations with the sheriff about having body cams. And I think that's an ongoing conversation that we need to continue with him to really make this happen. This will protect the sheriff's department, but also I think it is a safety issue for people in our community. And so that being said, the short answer is yes, I do support it, and we do need to work with the sheriff's department and Sheriff Prim to make this happen. It should happen sooner rather than later. Thank you.
Jim?
Yes, I would agree with everyone on this to some extent. And with our budget, upcoming budget problems, I think we should phase this in over a period of time of 2 or 3 years, so we don't take the budget hit, because this is very expensive. This one is very expensive to put the cameras on the deputies. And all other reasons, the safety, the protection. We lost some of our deputies over the years, including just last year. The one thing I'll say about this, even one step further than body cameras, we need to protect our deputies. I heard a statement in one of the committees the other day that it will never come to McHenry County, these violent protests and everything. So we do need body cameras so that these protests, if they do come here, the ones that are violent, they can record them as the police officers, their actions of how they handle themselves. More importantly, though, is our police, sorry about that. Our police have not been equipped, our sheriffs have not been equipped with the helmets, the riot helmets and shields. And I think that we should be doing that immediately. One of the committees the other day talked about that it might be as low as $11,000 to $12,000 to make that purchase. I think that's a purchase we shouldn't put off till next year, and we should do that one immediately. Let's protect our deputies and our sheriff's department. And but yes, we should move forward, and we should have that discussion about the body cameras on the board floor.
And Mike?
I agree that we should try and have body cameras. Jim said it right. It comes down to a budget issue, and no different than all the other departments. The Sheriff's Department has done a great job of trying to offer the same amount of services at a reduced cost. And so I know there are a lot of things that the sheriff would like to bring forward to the board as supplementals, but again, do we have the money for it? And so again, it's a discussion that I think the board has to have along with the chairman in regard to where are we willing to spend our money, and how do we spend it? And does that mean we make other cuts elsewhere? And those are, it's no different than any of the other departments that we have. We're always looking at what their needs are, trying to balance that with the amount of revenue that we're going to receive. And then third, looking at the county residents and what type of services are they needing or wanting in order to justify the tax dollars that they're paying. So this is definitely something that I think we should have that discussion. I think if the sheriff is open to having it, it's something that I feel that we can collectively work with other police departments. Buying power is much better when you have multiple groups working together. So this is something that we could, if other agencies are interested in being a part of it, we could send out a request for quote from multiple agencies, which would expand the amount of cameras that would be purchased, which would hopefully lower the cost for everyone concerned. But again, with, I agree with Jim, in a COVID situation, you're probably not going to get a lot of buy-in from other departments because they're on tight budgets to begin with. But it's something that at least we have to start having that conversation, knowing what the costs are so that we can try and work it in. The reality is we don't have that many deputies that are out at any one point in time. We have all the ones that are in the jail, and I'm assuming cameras would be good for those deputies also. It's not just the deputies that are out on the street. And so you have to look at that in totality and again, make a judgment call as to how those tax dollars should be spent.
All right, that concludes our interview. Thank you everyone for joining us.
Thank you, I appreciate it.